Real-time update, analysis, 4th Auburn basketball versus 24th Alabama. Time for another big-time test for Bruce Pearl and his Auburn basketball team. After climbing to number 4 in the nation, tying the highest placement in the AP poll for the program during Pearl's tenure, Auburn will put its 11-game win streak on the line against its biggest rival, number 24 Alabama. The Tigers and Tide will square off in Coleman Coliseum in Tuscaloosa at 8 p.m., with the game airing on ESPN. Read more Auburn and Alabama basketball. This is next level, what it's like from the other side of an Auburn basketball Twitter storm. Pearl, Auburn will need best game of season vs. dangerous Alabama. Nate Oates used Herb Jones as lesson for J.D. Davison. Others. Auburn is coming off a 12-point home win against Florida over the weekend, as the Tigers have won each of their first 3 set games by at least a dozen points for the first time in 52 years. Now they'll face a grueling matchup with the Tide, who are looking to bounce back from a 6-point loss at Missouri, which went down as a quadrant 4 loss on the NCAA tournament resume of Nate Oates' team. AL.com will provide live updates of Tuesday night's action throughout the game in the space below, so be sure to refresh the page for all the latest action inside Coleman Coliseum. Also be sure to stay tuned to al.com/Auburn basketball and al.com/Alabama basketball for full post-game coverage from the big-time sec tilt. First half, Auburn 32, Alabama 25 under, 4 timeout. KD Johnson knocks down a deep three-pointer from the top of the key. He then gets a steal and is fouled on a drive. He'll go to the line for a pair after the timeout. He has 7 points and 5 rebounds, plus a steal, for Auburn tonight. He has been playing at a ridiculous speed. J.D. Davison ends the Alabama scoring drought with a transition layup. It's Auburn 29, Alabama 25. Auburn 29, Alabama 23, Alley-oop to Devin Cambridge. Auburn is on a 6-0 since the break, and Alabama has missed its last 4 field goal attempts and hasn't scored in 2-13. Wendell Green Jr. with a floater out of the timeout, and Auburn is back in front. Auburn 23, Alabama 23 under, 8 timeout. Jabari Smith is carrying Auburn here in the first half. Alabama is getting a very balanced effort, with 4 players with 4 points apiece and 7 players on the score sheet. Jabari Smith with 5 straight points for Auburn. He has 11 of the team's first 23 points, as well as 3 blocks here in the first half. It's 23-20, Auburn. Smith has scored in double figures in 13 consecutive games now. Allen Flanigan with a layup out of the timeout to tie things up. Juwan Gary with an offensive rebound on the other end for a tip-in. First offensive board for the Tide. Alabama 18, Auburn 16 under, 12 timeout. Noah Gurley drains a 3-pointer to put the Tide ahead at the second media timeout. Alabama is 2 of 5 from deep. Auburn just 1 of 8 from 3-point range to far. Alabama is also 6 of 6 from the free throw line, while Auburn is just 1 of 4. Wendell Green Jr. with a fadeaway jumper to end the drought for Auburn. Allen Flanigan then gets a contested fast break to put Auburn back in front, 16-15. Auburn has missed 7 straight shots and has made just 2 of its last 10 field goal attempts while in a 2:31 scoring drought. Alabama up 15-12. Wendell Green Jr. checks back in for Auburn. Tigers trail the Tide, 13-12, with 13:11 to play in the first half. Wendell Green Jr. was hit in the face before the under 16 timeout and is out of the game at the moment. Big putback dunk from Dylan Cardwell out of the timeout. Auburn is going to need some big minutes from him, especially with Walker Kessler in foul trouble. Cardwell then blocks a 3-pointer on the other end. Auburn 10, Alabama 10 under, 16 timeout. Jabari Smith has 6 points on 2 of 2 shooting for Auburn. Alabama is 3 of 5 from the field but 0 of 2 from 3-point range early. A drive by Jahvon Quinerly gives Alabama a 10-8 lead, but Jabari Smith quickly ties it up with a mid-range pull-up. Jabari Smith drains a 3-pointer to make it 8-6, but then Walker Kessler picks up his second foul with 16:58 to play. Second game in a row he has been in foul trouble. He heads to the bench, with Dylan Cardwell checking in. Nice floater from Allen Flanigan to put Auburn in front. Walker Kessler then called for a late foul on the other end, and Alabama ties it at the free throw line. KD Johnson wastes no time for Auburn, scores in the first 5 seconds of action for the early 2-0 lead, but Juwan Gary responds for Alabama to tie it up. Pre-game, Auburn lineup: G. Zep Jasper, G. KD Johnson, G. Allen Flanigan, F. Jabari Smith, F. Walker Kessler. Alabama lineup: G. Jahvon Quinerly, G. Jaden Shackelford, G. Kian Ellis, F. Juwan Gary, C. Charles Bediako. Auburn will have its full roster available for just the 3rd time this season and for the 2nd consecutive game. The Tigers do not have any COVID or injury-related absences against the Tide. AL.com will update this post. Tom Green is an Auburn beat reporter for Alabama Media Group. Follow him on Twitter at Thomas_Verde.